Hello and welcome to the Monday, January 23rd, 2023 meeting of the Green Bay Planning Commission. We're going to start with a roll call. Chair Lisa Hanson is excused tonight. Vice Chair Jacob Miller, present.
Recording in progress.
Alder Jim Hutchinson, present. Commissioner Cindy Bremer,
Present.
Commissioner Darius Daniels, also excused. Commissioner Ken Ravinsky, present. And Commissioner Michael Paradik.
Present.
Moving on to item C, which is approval of the agenda. Approval of the agenda from the January 23rd, 2023 meeting of the Planning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Bremer, seconded by Commissioner Paradik. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Moving on to agenda item D, approval of the minutes. This is approval of minutes from the January 9th, 2023 meeting of the Green Bay Planning Commission.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Alder Hutchinson, seconded by Commissioner Paradik. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And now on to regular business. Item E, consideration of possible action on a request to establish a planned unit development at 216 South Military Avenue to permit the development of a multiple family residential use submitted by Gorman & Co., applicant Henry Real Estate Development LLC, property owner.
Thank you, Chair. This is a holdover from the meeting back on January 9th, where we discussed both this multi-family project at the corner of Leo and Military, and then the remainder of the block. Two separate PDs, but they are very much intertwined together. Next, so just as a recap, there's the overall block itself that we are be discussing here over the next handful of minutes. Next, and then just to go ahead and review back to this is the changes here for the CSN that was submitted here to the city. Lot 2 being the apartments, Lot 1 being the remainder of the block. Next, this is our future land use. This right here would be commercial for the entire block in the comp plan. Now the comp plan does go ahead and make reference to transitory development and having development taking spaces that are underused, like surface parking lots. Next, here's our zoning. Currently part of the PUD, that is a temporary PUD for the site. So, we received some comments at our public hearing last week, or 2 weeks ago. The PUD itself has not changed as far as the language goes, but the development group did go ahead and do some modifications based off of the feedback from the public at the meeting itself. This is once again the front of the building next. This is the corner next. Another side here of Leo next. So one of the next again. One of the changes here was as far as hearing the lack of amenities and green space and places to go ahead and do things like grilling outside. Dave, can you go next to the site plan? Look at that. There you go. So you'll see right here, this is an addition to a revised site plan. They have added on a grill station over in that area where there was a bike parking. That bike parking, which is both indoors and outdoors, the outdoor spot is moved towards the northeast corner of the building by where the building itself kinks a bit on up that way. So an outdoor grill station has been added to the property. Next. This is the old site plan that would have showed the old bike spaces. So right here, in addition, they've also added a cot area. So this right here is the proposed floor layouts back on January 9. Next, Dave. This is the proposed changes to it. So you'll note there's now a tot room up in the northern part of the first floor. The fitness center got changed over. That's now in the middle section of the first floor, just to the north of the bike storage area. So there have been some changes to their site plan itself that were put forward. But beyond that, the this does go ahead and remain the same. So as part of the PUD, some of the things that we put forward that are different from the code itself, going back to it needs to be setbacks in the front of the property, a building height exception to go ahead and allow it to be upwards of 50 feet, and a green space exception to go ahead and allow it to be at a minimum of 80, or sorry, a maximum of 86% impervious surface on the property. Next. So with that, with this one, taking into account, we are recommending approval of this PUD. I do believe in both virtual audience and in the audience here, there are representatives who can go ahead and further expand on any questions and concerns in the property.
Awesome, thank you, John. Commissioners, any comments before we look to open the floor?
I think only to say I'm very pleased to see the talk room. If I understood it correctly, there was a TOT room, right?
Correct.
So 4 kids, great.
I think my concerns I expressed last time are still the same. I know that they've made a few adjustments. I don't feel they're substantial enough to respond to the concerns. I'm all for affordable housing, but I want excuse me, I want quality affordable housing. Putting this many units in an area that's largely commercial, very little green space, surrounded by commercial area, just is not, to me, interpreted as quality affordable housing. I would love to see this happen somewhere else in the city. This is just not the spot for the project itself.
I'd like to make a comment with regard to the need for housing, period. I understand your concerns. I believe this project fits with the notion that we need more housing, just period, in the city of Green Bay. So I'm glad that the staff reacted to comments from last meeting, and it makes me even more pressed to approve this.
With that, I know we did have some folks in the audience probably willing to speak. Did we want to potentially open the floor?
Motion to open the floor.
I would second. Motion by Commissioner Praddick, second by Commissioner Ravinsky to open the floor. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Floor is now open. We'll invite anybody from the audience here tonight or online. If you do want to come forward, state your name, whether you in favor, against, or just provide information for this. We'll start with the gentleman up front.
Yes, Gary Pond, 1474 Finch Lane, excuse me. I think that the adjustments that have been made are minuscule, okay? They're not substantial, as you said. I understand I own a major medical manufacturing company, and a guarantee of profit is very important. Return on investment is very important. Maximizing profit is very important. But we don't maximize profit at the expense of our employees' safety and welfare. This unit design does neither of those. Took no consideration for that. It's just a roof over their head. Kids will need to play. And to be playing on Military Avenue is a disgrace if we allow that to go through. Maximizing profit, this is 48 units is an arbitrary number. It could be less. You could take that vertical footprint and reduce it to a play area, a secure play area, a place where they can go outside, get fresh air, maybe have a picnic with their family. There's no balconies, nothing. So I think we are better than this. I think this planning commission is better than that. They need to have in this body someone who speaks for the residents in their best interest, in their safety, and in their welfare. I should state that in this document, it describes many things that have been considered as part of this building. For example, it says, may include a lobby, mail room, janitorial service, community room, office space for community services, childcare for residents, may. May is not a legal term. So they could pass this, and they may not do any of those things. Shall is a legal contractual term. I'd feel much better if some of this said, we shall include this or that. So for this reason, I wouldn't support the way it's designed. Now, I want to add to this, if I recall, Melinda, we have a very similar facility going up.
Yeah, he's supposed to be bringing it.
You're bringing it up? In the neighborhood, right down the street. And I think this will show that they designed this with the same consideration I'm asking you to insist on. They have, I believe, I've been told, a secure outdoor play area. I think it's in here.
It's this area.
And I think it was fenced. So if we can do it 3 blocks away, we can do it here on Military Avenue where it is more acute. God help us if, again, a kid who's playing on Military Avenue happens to run after a ball and gets killed or injured, excuse me. So that's another reason. Another thing I wanted to bring up is nothing is indicated in here that they're going to take down the Shopko sign, the tall Shopko sign, which would be very close in proximity to this building. I think we should insist on that. So, thank you for allowing me to speak my piece.
Thank you. Keep me honest if there's any hands up there. Anybody else from the audience here tonight looking to speak on this? Anyone virtually as well?
Yeah, this is Brian from Bay Area Diamond Company.
Thanks, Brian. Could you also give us an address for the record, please?
225 South Military Avenue.
And
We're directly across the street.
awesome. And a last name as well.
Rouse, R-O-U-S-E.
Great. Thank you. Go ahead with your comments.
We're strongly against this for multiple reasons. First being safety. Again, I'm not sure where these kids are going to play. You know, there's 48 apartments, so do we have an estimate of 100, 150 souls? We already have issues with kids playing in the parking lot from the neighborhood because there's no place to play already. And, you know, issues with bouncing off of cars and kids in general. On top of the homeless and whatnot we have living in the area, in the bushes, in the backyard. I just did that. Nothing about this makes sense except there's profit somewhere for somebody. The parking spots too. I don't understand the math on this, but 48 apartments and only, looks like 50 parking stalls? How does that work out? Isn't there a certain requirement in the city of Green Bay to have an X amount of green space and parking space? I guess that's more of a question for the city that wants this approved. Is there a requirement or is there not?
Yeah, I could take that.
Yeah, go ahead,
So,
John.
yeah, so part of the PUD is, for the impervious surface is being requested to go up to 86%. That would be a deviation from 80 that being typically required. As to the parking, they will still need to get their site plan approved. The minimum parking stalls for 48 would be 60 parking stalls. This plan doesn't have it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Either the plan needs to be modified in some shape or form, or there needs to be a shared parking agreement with property owners within 1,000 feet of the property, and a document that would then be recorded with the Register of Deeds that states shared parking can occur with apartments and a neighboring property.
Okay, what about the green space with new developments?
Right, so the green space, as far as that goes, the impervious surface on the property is a requirement of max of 80%. This is asking for it to go ahead and jump up to 86% impervious. Whereas right now it's at 100% impervious. It is an improvement, but it does not meet the full-on requirement that would typically be associated with C3.
Yeah, it's like, I kind of feel like the last man that spoke, it seems like there's nobody on the board that is speaking for the people around here. They're getting variances for everything, and yet these kids have to play somewhere. And if you don't think they're not going to play in the tracks and in behind H.J. Martin and all the place, I mean, this is, I feel bad for these kids, honestly. It's just not the place for it. You know, I've been here for 16 years, and I'm anxiously, every time I see H.J. Martin or they do all that nice development down in the corner in front of Cub Foods, and we're anxiously waiting for that to slowly seep down our way. And then to see this building get put up, I mean, that is absolutely going to kill that entire piece of property. They will never do anything with that piece of property behind there except build more units like this. And you're just going to slowly lose the retail around here, because who wants, you know, I don't want to have a fine jewelry store where I have to kick kids out of my parking lot every day because they have no place to play in their own parking lot, along with the safety. And I mean, I don't know. I think sure, if you tell me the city of Green Bay needs this, great, I won't argue that fact, but it certainly shouldn't be in the middle of a retail establishment on Military Avenue. It just doesn't belong here. Put it on the backside where Randall Street is. There's already housing back there, but that would have, you know, that building there would kill the rest of the property, and then that eternally is now a warehouse. I would be more in favor of giving Ed and David more time to find the right place, just like they did over in Ashwaubenon with the old Menards building, than to put this in there, because this is the first nail in the coffin for that property if this gets built. So again, I can't, this goes up and we're going to have more massage parlors, more check cashing, and more really small stores that don't help each other. We need development like that's happening on the corner of Mason and Military. So I guess that's all I got.
Thank you, Brian. Looking for anyone else wishing to speak on this?
This is Leah Weicker with Military Avenue Business District.
Thank you, Leah. Go ahead.
I really appreciate the changes that they made. I think they are great. I too am just concerned about, it just seems like it's fit in this position in an awkward way. I think the commissioner at the last plan commission meeting said it's going to stand out, you know, good or bad, not sure. I'm all for housing in our district. I think it's really important. I think when we think of housing, I think of retail on the lower level and housing up so that it's more blended in with the commercial district. And I feel like this doesn't meet that criteria. I do think it's important for us to get people outside, and I do think even though the parks, we talked about the parks being close by, crossing Shadow would be very busy and dangerous. People they pull right into the crosswalks right now. People are pretty careless about crosswalks. And the park towards the back, the Badger Park, is a couple blocks away, but it's a very small park with not a lot of amenities. So I guess I have to think, would I live here, I don't think I would choose that place to live, because it just doesn't fit my lifestyle. I like healthy outdoor. I have a dog. I'm not sure where people with dogs would go in this as well. John did point out some green space in the parking lot, which was helpful. But if every person had a dog, that's 48 dogs. and maybe there's not dogs allowed. I just don't know all of those details. But it doesn't seem like a super desirable place to live. And I think Military Avenue is an awesome place. And if we put the right housing with the right amenities, I think this could be an awesome place to live. And this just isn't feeling like it's fitting yet.
Leah, if I could pose a question to you. Obviously, you represent the businesses more, being the director of the bid. But I'm sure you hear plenty about housing in the district as well, too. Not to put words in your mouth, but it certainly sounds like you're in favor of more housing, but maybe just not in this type of format. Could you maybe expand on that a little bit of what maybe the housing needs you'd like to see in the district?
Yeah, I would like to see more of a mix of affordable and market rate housing. We have a lot of subsidized and affordable on Western, and my issue has always been concentration of poverty. It's never a good fit. My previous job has been working with homeless prevention, so I completely get the housing piece. But whenever you concentrate it, it just creates an environment of unstableness, and I feel that in a business district, that housing should include something on the bottom level that makes someone want to come down and interact in your neighborhood. I think I talked to John about in the past when I was on the city council, we did a survey on what the definition of your neighborhood. And when they defined neighborhood, the faster the speed of the traffic, the smaller the neighborhood was. And so this is a busy street. That whole building is going to be its neighborhood. So I just feel like we need to make the type of housing that fits in a commercial district, and this just doesn't seem to be doing it. I do appreciate the Tot House inside, but again, we coordinate a farmer's market that's very successful on Military Avenue, really pushing healthy eating, being outside, planting your own plants, things like that. This just isn't going to meet that. Does that sort of answer your question?
Yep.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, thank you, Leah. Anything else before?
Thanks. No, I think I'm good, thanks.
Thank you.
I'd like to speak.
Oh, yes.
I could. Hi, my name is Jill Rouse. I am Brian's business partner. We are co-owners of Bay Area Diamond Company, right across the street. So we're at 225 South Military.
Yep, go ahead.
I am also not at all in favor of this for several reasons. I'm wondering why you would ruin the entire 80 acres of property that could be retail or a restaurant or a hotel. It's my understanding that if this goes through, that the former Shopper building will remain light industrial forever. So I can't see any retailer or anything about that ever moving into there. I also have to concern about parking. I don't know if they're planning that people would do street parking, but there is no street parking around here. There would be nowhere for them to do that. And if they had a visitor come and visit them for a holiday or anything like that, where would they park? Like, are they just supposed to use other people's parking lots? I am also concerned about, again, where children will play. They don't have balconies on the building, I believe. So where would anybody get any outdoor space besides sitting in the parking lot on blacktop? The safety factor, again, is, I think, critical. The building butts right up against the sidewalk of a really busy street, Military Avenue. So that's concerning. There's a train track right on the edge of the property. I also don't like that there are no retail or offices on the first level that could be rented out to more retailers around here. The entire first level, to my knowledge, is for their own use of the people in the building for whatever the different functions are. So it would be nice if there was planned to be some retail in this building, but there's not. It's just apartment. So I also, agree with Leah about concentrating low-income housing in the same area. Last week, literally in my parking lot, getting out of my car in the morning, someone knocked on my window and asked me for money. So it is a problem around here, and I don't think it's helping any of the retailers. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Before somebody speaks. Hi, my name is Adam Kirsten. I own the office building at 1600 Charlotte Avenue. At this point, I am not in favor of the development. I really wish I could be, because it is something that the area does need. Housing is definitely something that we want to see in the area. I echo a lot of the same concerns as everyone else. Safety of the people that are going to be in and around the building. Green space, it does look a little different than what is around it in the area. That might be good, that might be bad. That's probably going to be everybody's different opinion. Approval of the project before you kind of know all the final details. I know that parking is going to be not between the city and any of the developers, it's developer to developer, but it does impact all the area around it, so that is a concern that things would be approved before we know how that is going to shake out. And I have faith in the Martins that they are doing great work in and around the area, and I'd just love to see something different at that spot. I think they're going to do a great job with whatever does end up being there, whether it is this or not. But I would also love to hear anybody who does support it. Maybe there are some things that I'm wrong about, and would love to hear some counterpoints. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Motion to close the floor.
So moved.
Motion to close the floor by Commissioner Braddock, seconded by Commissioner Bremer. All those in favor, please say aye. 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 And floor is now closed. Commissioners, any questions either for staff or discussion?
I would like to know if the staff has any responses to these very telling comments that have been made from the floor. I'm compelled by them at this point to join Commissioner Braddock in opposition to this proposition. As delighted as I was to see the top room, it's not a big space, and it doesn't correct all the other issues, both for the commercial area and especially for any children here. We do need housing, but we need adequate, safe, good housing.
Certainly. So responding to some of the questions that were put forward and concerns. So we are not reaching that 8% mark. That would be for impervious surface. We will go back to Murphy Park is the nearest park. That is some 850 feet away, 2 city blocks, which looking at and taking advantage of our robust city park system, felt it was adequate to go ahead, especially for those children and adults who are older who can go ahead and use the roadways without much issue. We appreciated where I think everybody here has appreciated the including of the top room space in the plant itself, but it is indoors. When it comes to the building as far as parking goes, this is where we did not have a compromise as far as the number goes. 60 is our minimum requirement that we happen to have, based off of being 48 units. There will be no budging on that. In some shape or form, there has to go ahead and be either parking on site or shared parking. There's nothing uncommon about that, to either have parking on site or shared parking. It just needs to go ahead and happen. A site plan would not be approved until that does occur. As far as the first 4 spaces with commercial, valid point here in the commercial district itself. Referring back to the development agreement that was agreed upon back in 2021. The request was to go ahead and find spaces that would be for commercial, mixed use, or residential. Find that along this corridor right here. And that's where the charge came into where government's now upon us right with this. There is limited office space for Lutheran Family Services, but it's correct. The majority of the space in the first floor is not for commercial purposes. It is for either individual private residences or for the shared uses for amenities for those folks who live in the building itself. As far as setbacks go, this goes back to the idea of putting that space along the corridor itself and bringing folks up closer to the edge of the road. You'll see this over on, say, Holmgren Way. Some of the new apartment complexes, 4 stories, pretty similar form, pretty similar as far as the road width and the functionality of the road as far as an artery through the area. Similar in that fashion. It is set back more than the one in Holmgren happens to be, but it does not meet the requirements, thus the PUD itself. So there are some compromises. Is this an all-out meeting everybody's needs or desires? No, but we do feel overall it's a strong project, though, along the corridor itself. But certainly for debate.
Oh, Neil, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to say a couple things here. Just want to be clear about some of the comments that have been made. So obviously this is a very urban area housing project. So the concept of having different recreational opportunities in green space is certainly, an ideal situation, I think, and I think everyone would certainly appreciate that and prefer that. However, this is a very urban area. Again, this is 100%. This is a lot. Hopefully, some redevelopment potential going forward, with starting some investment, possibly to see that staff does see that as a step in the right direction. Seeing some improvement in the area, some investment. Obviously, there's additional opportunity, possibly for green space and other things as the site redevelops. Again, obviously, the intention is certainly to allow the Martins to continue their use as long as they deem it appropriate. Certainly working with them in good faith, we're certainly having discussions with them about future prospects of the site. I think the success of something here probably leads to being more, from an economic standpoint, leads to more likely to see additional redevelopment on the site, hopefully long term. Exactly what that time frame is, that's certainly going to be up to the Martins and what the market tends to do and how their operations go. We certainly are continuing to work with them. Certainly want to remind everyone that the intention of certainly pursuing this type of development on this site was to screen the former Shopko building. In terms of wanting to see, some sort of a development and improvements to the corridor, we feel that, staff, I believe, feels, certainly myself for sure, believes that providing some sort of commercial and or residential development or mixed-use development in front of this building does actually increase the likelihood that the site will redevelop at some point. We think that investment will, if successful, will actually spur additional interest and in wanting to create additional investment as it goes forward. Also, if there's any concern about aesthetics, I think the city's going to have an opportunity to work directly with the developer as they go through if there are certain amenities that folks would like to see on the building itself. I think there's certainly some opportunities to do that as we proceed through the development agreement and other conversations as we go forward. So, again, it is a difficult one because it's the first project in the immediate area. We've seen certainly other folks have commented on different why isn't a different market rate project occurring here. Really it's been a situation where, again, I think, all credit to the businesses and everybody operating in this area. I think there is an area, there are some spots that need some investment. I think this site is certainly one of those sites. So I think it does begin to move it in the right direction. So certainly, we are not getting everything. I think that would be an ideal situation with the open space and everything as we go forward with this immediate project. But we do think there is going to be opportunity to address those things as over time, as the site continues to redevelop.
Thank you, Neil. A question for John, probably on this one. Can you remind me the distance to Murphy Park? Was that 850 feet?
Yes.
And across how many streets?
2. Leo and Shawano.
And I guess the point I want to make here is it's seeming a bit of a hardship that we're asking this developer in particular to really go above and beyond with their amenities and park space when we probably wouldn't ask that in a lot of other circumstances. And I would also point out there's many places in town, in the city, that you do not have access to a park within 850 feet. It probably could be miles to the nearest park. It's obviously situational between them, but I'm feeling we're putting a bit of a burden upon this developer to really deliver on something that we probably wouldn't ask of many other developers in different circumstances. I'm not sure what that means, but I think it's worth pointing out that it feels we are pushing a little bit harder on that point than maybe we would in other situations.
Jake?
Floor is not open at the moment.
Mr. Chair, if I could call upon Alder Abner.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Alder, could you let us know if you have any comments from residents or what you've heard or any insights that you've heard over the past couple of weeks from neighbors?
Yeah, basically the same thing that has been shared is what I've been hearing. I haven't really heard any positive for the project, to be honest. It's all been against it. And for the same reasons that they all shared, so I won't really, reiterate that just because, they already said that. That's all that I've heard. And there was one thing, if you don't mind me sharing this, you brought up Murphy Park. Just on Saturday, I actually had somebody that I ran into at the market on Military, the winter market, and he said that West was using those ball diamonds for practicing, but the coach has to go like early to clean up, kick out the homeless out of the dugout, and then clean up all the needles that are in that area. So it's not really a safe park at this point. I just found that out, and I was very disappointed. There's something we need to do about that, but so I don't look at that as like the greatest place to send the kids to play either.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do appreciate those comments. Trying to keep on track, though, we had this a couple of meetings ago. We got off track on the homeless conversation. And it's a great conversation to have, but I have a hard time holding that particular issue against a developer when it's a citywide, countrywide issue. There's a lot of great points here. I'm really struggling with holding some of these against this development in particular when we're improving the site. Yes, it may be jarring to those who have been in the neighborhood, who have seen this, but this is how development starts. It has to begin with sometimes a big step. And if this is a catalyst that brings up all sorts of other things, I think that's a really good thing. It may not be everything, as I think the city has already acknowledged, but you have to start somewhere. And I feel like this is a pretty good start in that direction with the developer that's invested. They're right next door. I'm sorry, not the developer, but you know what I mean. It seems like they're invested in the neighborhood and want to see this, but probably other things as well. So I'm having a hard time really holding some of these things against it.
I don't hold anything against the developer, but I think we have bent over backwards here to allow the developer to squeeze every possible square inch out of this place for rental property. And I don't think that it's providing safe and adequate rental property for whoever might go in there. And I think it had a lot of trouble selling it to anybody seeking normal rental rates rather than special affordability rates. I was delighted to see that the design makes room for not only 1 bedroom, but 2 and even 3 bedroom spaces. But as we talk more about the people who might take those spaces, I worry about what we're doing.
To continue with that comment as well, I think that the plan for the building itself, again, is a good plan. We need housing, and we know that people want to, thankfully, live in Green Bay. We know that there will be people that want to come to this place. And I appreciate the comments before about kind of screening this commercial building, but we're screening it with these people. And I just don't feel right about that. I don't feel right about us. This is a difficult situation all across. It's not just a city issue, like you said, Mr. Chair. However, in this unique spot, and I thank the staff for addressing the issue of housing in the community, but I think we just need to get more creative of finding the right location for it. I have heard lots of negative comments from neighbors here today. I just cannot feel in good conscience we should be doing this to neighbors who will be living in this 48 units in this particular location. I have known this area all my life growing up. It is, when we talk about crossing streets, it's not just a residential street, it's dangerous streets. We've heard that enough, and I don't want to bring that up again. The location itself is commercial. I would not want to have my neighbors having to live in that situation in the parking lot of the former Shopko because of the fact that we need housing. So I would encourage us to hopefully look at these projects in the future in a place that it would be a substantial quality of life for the people who are living in those apartments. And because of that, I'll be voting no today.
At this point, we do not have a motion on the floor.
I'll move to approve.
Motion approved by Alder Hutchinson. We will need a second to bring that to vote. Going once. Jessica, I can't second, right? That's right. Yep, okay, just making sure. Okay, so going once, twice. Okay, that motion dies. I'll take another one if you got one.
You can't second a motion?
I don't think I can. Not as chair, no. As vice I can, but not as chair.
Motion to deny?
Motion denied by Commissioner Praddick.
I would second.
Second by Commissioner Ravinsky to deny. We'll take that vote unless there's any other question between commissioners at this time. I'm going to do this roll call because I think we're going to be a little split here. I'll start with the motioner in that case. So, Michael, your vote on this?
Aye.
And this is a vote, just to be clear.
This is a vote to deny.
Vote to deny.
Yeah.
Okay. Ken, since you had the second?
Aye.
Alder Hutchinson?
No.
Sid?
Aye, to deny.
I will also vote nay, so that is 3 ayes to 2 nays. So that would, sorry, as proposed, that is denied. We don't do anything else besides just pass it on to council, right?
Correct. It'll go to the next council meeting and a
Okay.
report from the planning commission, and if they accept, well, they overturn it, then first reading.
Okay, when's the next city council?
February 7th.
February 7th. Okay, so this will move on to council on February 7th with the recommendation to deny. For any of those in the audience or online that want to speak, council will be your next opportunity to do so on the, I'm sorry, 7th? February 7th. Moving on.
Assuming a council person would have to open that up.
Pull it, yes, that's right.
For discussion.
Okay, moving on with regular business, we are on to item 2 of regular business. Consideration of possible action on the request to build a planned unit development at 216 South Military Avenue to amend the boundaries of the PUD submitted by Mallon Associates applicant on behalf of Henry Real Estate Development LLC property owner.
Okay, I'll go through this with the knowledge that this PUD and the following, or the previous PUD are intertwined. And without that previous PUD being approved, at this point, we would not recommend moving forward with this PUD because it was based off of having that form up along Military Avenue. But I'll still get to the specifics as far as what we've been discussing here over the past few months. This right here is going back to the CSM, Lot 2 being the multifamily, Lot 1 being the remainder of the property, and seeing the overall block. These are development areas A, B, and C. You'll note there's a change here from back on January 9th. That in more discussions with developers out here, development area C got expanded out to Military Avenue and included the annex. That leaves a smaller development area A and then development area B up to the north over at the Superior Liquor Store. Next, please. This is just giving you some actual street views of what the area is and approximately what that space would be. Development area A being approximately 186 deep by 170 wide. Next. This would be the development area B. This would be north of Leo, up until Randall. Next. This would be the western part of development area C, and then finally that arm that extends over to Military Avenue. So with this in development, we can go back to that original map. This is split into 3 different development areas. This would need to go on through passing with the PD from before, and with the developers agreement that needed to be negotiated with Gorman. But this development area A, in your packets that you saw here starting on Friday, was to remain as a C3 individual use. It has been amended here, that you see in both the email and in front of you, to also include light industrial uses in this area, with the caveat being no new building or building additions could be for light industrial, delimited light industrial uses. I want to note to all A, B, and C, this will all still be the blanket C3 uses as a permitted use. The next area, development area B, would allow limited light industrial in that area as a permitted use. Currently with it being the liquor store, and that use being a permitted use within C3. The separation that would be required to separate industrial uses and residential uses onto the existing areas of Randall, the buffer zone, would not be required to occur until an actual light industrial use would happen up in that area. So if it remains a liquor store, not necessary to go ahead and put in a buffer until the area became a light industrial use. Finally, there's development area C, and that would be C, limited light industrial uses. It's an expansion from back on January 9th to include the annex area and the area in front of it. So initially here we did recommend approving the PUD here with the additional changes. However, at this time with the PUD not advancing for the property over on the northeast corner of Military, or southwest corner of Military and Leo, I believe it would be appropriate to go ahead and move this PUD forward at this time because there is no project to go ahead and complement it.
So recommendation in that case would probably be a hold, or?
I think we could hold that right now and see if
can work out.
We could work out what's happening over at the corner, but hold this for the time being, yes.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions on for John on that?
Just to clarify, so for development area B, there could be new construction of industrial?
Correct. There could be. So with B, and it's both in C and B, the standards have to go ahead and hold up to C3 design standards and offsets. So there are some different caveats from there in the PUD as far as design, where no fencing within 200 feet of the right-of-way, with the exception of Randall. No sort of industrial type of look, such as docks and garages and mechanical equipment that would face out from a view on South Military. No additional docks onto the buildings, with the exception on, you could have it on Randall. So there are some design requirements, but yes, they could by right with this go ahead and add on those light industrial uses up in that area.
And then with development area A requiring no, or not allowing new development or construction.
Right. So it'd be two different ways to look at it.
Outdoor storage.
So no, outdoor storage is not allowed as far as one of the prohibited uses throughout the entire property itself. If you look at this through two different lines, one being the C3 use. If the C3 use were to be built right there, we would, in conjunction with the Gorman property, look to go ahead and create a buffer, as far as a visual buffer, both in to shield any possible LI uses in the back, and an actual buffer that people, or not buffer, but area where people actually congregate and use, like commercial spaces, like the apartments, along the corridor itself. So with the C3 use, any new build for a footprint would require at least 50% of the development area A to be building footprint. What we're trying to avoid there is the idea of put up a 25-foot wide coffee shop or drive-through that just is this very narrow sliver, just as big. You're not covering up then what would be the LI use behind it potentially. However, if it would be an LI use right there, or sorry, while LI use is allowed, no new buildings or constructions can happen, or no new buildings or building additions can happen within development area A.
Any other questions, comments? Otherwise, it sounds like the recommendation from staff would probably be to hold this. We would need to motion and vote on that for that hold if we did want to do that.
Move to hold.
Second.
Should we open the floor for public comment?
Can you do that too?
Would that, I'd make that motion. If that-
Okay, so motion open the floor by Commissioner Rubisky, seconded by Alder Hutchinson to open the floor. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone wishing to speak on this, please come forward, or online, throw your hand up.
Hello, Melinda Eck, 1634 Birchwood Drive. I'm also the alderman of District 11. So my thoughts on this, and based on conversations with different people, that they've been given a 3-year conditional use permit for that area, and then with an additional option of 1 year plus 1 year, so 5-year total, right? I don't know if I'm saying quite the right way, but anyway, so basically, I understand, and people have mentioned that the Martins have done a lot for Military Avenue, and that after going to a different meeting, David Martin indicated that they are looking for something, or have been, now if I'm wrong, please tell me, but that kind of like what they did out in Ashwaubenon on Wabi Lane, and found something, and they were given a longer period of time to find something to come in there, and they did. So it almost seems, I think that if we allow them the grace of a little more time to get something in there, based on all of the different businesses around the area that I talked to, they would like something much bigger in that spot rather than piecemealing it out. And it really doesn't screen Shopko. If you really look at the plan, it's way over to the right if you're looking at it. It does not cover up the old Shopko building. Realistically, it's not covering much. So anyway, that was just a thought that if we give them a little more time, I think that if we wait it out, we might get something much bigger and would maybe be better for Military Avenue. And again, the housing, we do have the housing project down farther, actually closer to my neighborhood, that was brought up as the example. So it's not, I'm not against housing. We need housing, just the right place for it.
Thank you. Thanks. Any others?
I would second what was just said. I mean, I have all the trust in the world in the Martins. They've done a fantastic job on the corner of Mason and Military. It's taken time, and of course it's going to take time. But if you plug this apartment building in front, nobody retail is going to want the rest of it. You've taken 8 acres and you sold off the 1.1 acre that is the most prime, the best piece of that property. A Marriott hotel or a big chunk is not going to want it after that's in the corner. So I'm in favor of giving the Martins as much time as they need, and they'll do right for us because they always have.
Thanks, Brian. Just your last name and address for the record, please.
225 South Military Avenue, Rouse, R-O-U-S-E.
Thanks again.
Hey, Ted Matkom, M-A-T-K-O-M, with Gorman & Company, the developer for the housing, 200 North Main Street in Oregon, Wisconsin. So when we were first approached by the city and the Martins to kind of redevelop this parcel, the plan was a staged plan. The warehouse was a temporary type of use, and this was the first stage in a multi-phased project to redevelop that property. Unfortunately, the economy took a turn with inflation and interest rates. To build that building today would be extraordinary cost. You can never do it in terms of what they want to use it for. So we have had this be the first phase where we got the WIDA credits for this, serving lower income individuals, primarily with disabilities, with visual and hearing impaired disabilities, that would use that bus station, the bus stop on Military. Those individuals normally don't have cars and kids. So the kid ratio in terms of who's living here is not going to be one that's a market rate property down the street, 2-story walk up. The tot room that we put in there is going to be used 6 months out of the year. Guess what? The green space in front of there is going to be used 6 months out of the year. So take your pick. What do you want? You want to be in a fenced brown piece of grass in December, or do you want to be in a tot room? 6 months either way. Take your pick, which one you want. So the townhomes interact with the street. This is urban development, Green Bay. I hate to tell you, this is what it is. You know, it's like people don't have, 1 acre lots everywhere. People have to have a place to live. Affordable housing's a crisis. This is an unbelievable building when you go through it in terms of the quality and the finishes that you'll see in there. It will be a community in terms of itself, and it's got a community room. It's got LSS in there to help the people. And we have a shared parking agreement with the Martins, which are right next door with all those parking spaces. Not exactly sure what else you want to see, to be honest with you. I mean, everybody here sounds like a little bit of NIMBYism, to be honest with you, for the lower income individuals. And the fact that you're protecting them having a house over their head and a quality affordable housing project seems a little bit hypocritical to me. Sorry. Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Sure.
Have you considered, was there a consideration for a commercial on the first floor? Or
Yeah, but where, I guess where are they going to park? You need parking for commercial. Again, this is a multi-phase development, so, I mean, the Martins the only reason they wanted that permanent site is not because they want to have a Shopko for the rest of their life, is because they want to use this for as long as the economy will not enable them to do what they want to do with a real warehouse. Bellin's using that to maintain their vehicles, and that's great. But I'll tell you right now, these guys are not here saying that this is their vision for Military Avenue. What can I say that's right? I mean, it's not even close. But they don't know when this is going to end, so they wanted it more permanent than the 3 years. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not understanding why you didn't speak before when we were considering the Golden property.
That's because it was public comment, and I'm not really the public. I'm a developer, so I thought I would be invited to talk as part of the roundtable, but I wasn't, so I apologize. It was my fault.
We assumed that you would be coming forward.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I didn't see you before.
Sorry about that.
Question? Name and address for the record.
Gary Pond, 1474 Finch Lane. A question at point of order is that we were allowing public comment on something that was discussed and put to bed. I didn't understand that that would be allowed.
I think because they are so closely tied together, it's allowable in this circumstance. This one is contingent essentially on that.
He didn't speak to item 2. He spoke to item 1. So I'm not sure that it was appropriate.
I've got a point of order question. So this commission is going to they denied the first. It's going to council, on which I sit. Does the council have the opportunity to approve item 1?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess.
And they also have the opportunity to approve item 2, the one you're talking about right now, even, no matter what the recommendation comes out of
So
the
if we hold it?
the council can take
Okay.
action.
So even if it were tabled?
Or in this case, held, would be.
I don't think if we held this right here, it wouldn't be up for action.
If it's held, it wouldn't go forward, and they have to have a plan commission recommendation to take action.
So if we deny it, then they could approve it?
They could. They could approve it, they
Deny
could
or
deny it,
approve
they
it,
could
but
change it
not
around.
Okay, right.
Yep.
Okay. And the reason I say this is because there are a lot of concerns with this, and as I stated before, I'm for this development simply because we need rooms. And what was just said may bear on this issue, especially with the council. Maybe not, maybe so. So I guess I would recommend people of interest be there at the council meeting because this issue may become alive again. I don't know what the outcome would be, but I'm just saying that out loud for both 1 and 2.
The other possibility is they could always refer it back.
Okay.
If they want to.
Okay.
Those are really kind of the options of the council.
Okay.
Of you.
But if we put a hold on this, then they can't act on it.
Correct.
Okay.
I guess I'd make a motion to close the floor.
Yeah, do we have anyone else wishing to speak?
Leah Whitaker with Military Avenue, 425 South Military. Just curious, I heard Ted say phased development. Is that something we're just not supposed to be privy to, or I'm confused about that? Again, I think seeing the bigger picture, if there's more housing or more development that would be coming towards the back part of that lot, I think like Sid said, it would be a good little story. Thank you.
Thanks, Leah.
Yeah, so we don't have actual plans right now put forward as far as the phasing of this. The development agreement, as far as the intent that was put forth in the development agreement, and I said it would be intending for that to be happening, but that's part of the position we're in right now as far as this PUD and putting in all these different caveats as far as design. We don't have the full-on intent of what this will be in the future right now.
And I think that was originally when we talked about the temporary use, was to vet those things out before we agreed to anything on it.
So these are trying to put in parameters right here to go ahead and make this continue forward. And with this said, if a new development were to go ahead and occur with Gorman and Martin on this property, a new development agreement would have to be revised here. That would have to go through RDA and the council as well for the overall block.
So, motion to close the floor.
Second.
Motion to close floor by...
There may be someone...
If there's, sorry, yeah.
Sure.
Yep. Name and address for the record.
Hi, my name's David Martin. I'm with H.J. Martin at 320 South Military Avenue. And I'm on behalf of the company and my father, Edward, here. We've owned the property for about 2 years now. And my personal phone number is on the sign. We're actively marketing it. And we know a lot of retailers nationwide, both with brokers, through brokers, and just all the retail work that we do. The only company that expressed interest through all of our, and we can act quickly, as we've shown in the past, the only retailer that has expressed any interest is a pizza retailer on this property. So when Ted was introduced to us through the city, this seemed like the most viable option to kickstart that multi-phase development. Do we want this as a warehouse, the old former Shopko building, just like we explained in the neighborhood meetings forever? The answer is no, but what it's allowing us to do right now is train and educate our workforce, where we have 1,000 families, and right now we have about 40 acres around that area, and it helps to be all in one area. So what you're doing by allowing us to operate this way is to help us continue to develop the business with this, which is H.J. Martin. And our intention is not to have that as a warehouse for our lifetimes.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this? I'll take that motion again.
Motion to close the floor.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Rubinsky, second by Commissioner Craig to close the floor. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Floor is now closed. I know we were talking about a motion. I don't think we had we may have had a second on one. I think we did have a motion to a second on a hold. So we need to pull that if we want to, otherwise we can take a vote on that.
Jessica, you have who motion and seconded?
I do not.
We did not. I think we
We
were,
don't have a motion, I don't think.
we were talking quick about it. Okay.
I entered
Is
it, I
it
think.
a point of order or question, a motion to hold, is that a motion to table?
Yes.
Okay, so
It would
the
come up.
motion then was to table, and I believe the sense was to table indefinitely in hopes that something that will take some of the pressure off this little space for the many, many families can be brought forward.
Well, and you could hold it and not have a date, or you could
Put a date on it.
put a date on.
To come back.
To come back, yes.
Point of order, I think there was a motion in a second though, right before we opened the floor.
There very well could be, but I'm not sure we had it.
Okay.
I don't, we moved at the motion to open the floor pretty quick right after.
Sure.
So unless we got a record of it, I think we'll have to take a fresh one.
It would be in the video, but
Okay.
I can't.
Sid, was that a motion that you were making there, or just a recommendation?
You're muted. Oh, there you go.
I'm sorry, I moved that we table this indefinitely. I had myself muted, excuse me.
Thank you, Sid. And a second by Commissioner Peretic to table indefinitely. I'll just do a voice vote on that for right now. All those in favor of tabling indefinitely, please say aye.
Aye.
3. Those opposed?
No.
Nay. So that was an aye, right?
Yes, aye for me.
Okay, so that is 3-2 to table indefinitely. That will not move forward to council.
Superintendent report.
Except in a report that it was tabled indefinitely.
And the one caveat I'm going to give you is I'm not an attorney, so hopefully I'm doing it for a long time, but.
Okay. All right.
Throw it out.
We'll press on. So, regular business, on to item number 3. This is a public hearing. Public hearing on a request for a conditional use permit at 1950 Radisson Street to allow a hobbyist shop for major vehicle repair in a business park district, submitted by Ben DeLeon, Sinclair Properties LLC, property owner. For the public hearing, this public hearing has been properly posted and public notification has been published in the Press Times. The Planning Commission is interested in hearing public comments on the subject agenda items. We invite your comments and ask that after your name has been called, you state your address, whether you represent a group or association, whether you favor, oppose, or only provide information on this matter, as well as your comments or concerns. We also ask that you confine your testimony to facts related to the proposal at hand and avoid repetitive testimony. Questions may be asked during the public hearing, but will not be answered until the upcoming actionable item. You must be recognized by the Planning Commission in order to speak, and please address your comments to the chair. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. To speak during this public hearing, you may unmute yourself at the bottom of the screen using the raise hand function on Zoom. Physically raise your hand if you're using the video feature, or press *6 to unmute yourself if you are calling in. We'll toss over to staff for a quick rundown before we jump into the public hearing.
Thank you, Chair. So this is at 1950 Radisson. We're up of I-43 in the business park that's over there. Next slide. In both future land use and in existing land use, the use of here is for business park. What brings us here today is that one of the conditional uses is for major auto repair, and the applicant who's here today is looking to go ahead and have a hobbyist shop.
Excellent. Now open the floor for comments from the public. Please come forward or unmute yourself if you're joining us online. Anyone online? No hands, I don't think, right? No? Is anyone wishing to speak? Is anyone wishing to speak on this item? Is anyone wishing to speak? With that, this public hearing is now closed. We will move on to item number 4, which is consideration of possible action on the request for a conditional use permit at 1950 Radisson Street to allow a hobbyist shop for major vehicle repair in a business park district, submitted by Ben DeLeon, Sinclair Properties LLC, property owner. Staff?
Thank you, Chair. So as you see here, this is 2 parcels that is owned by Sinclair Plumbing. Next slide. Next. The westernmost property is essentially the building that is the primary use for Sinclair. It also goes a little bit into the driveway on the property. And then the eastern part of the parcel, or the east part of the property, is a parcel that is the parking lot and another garage building that is on site. Next slide. So the applicant is looking to go ahead and create a hobbyist shop in here. It's noted in his narrative that they're looking to go ahead and take this garage that you see right here, and essentially it's about half the space would be still for Sinclair Plumbing and their uses. The other half would be major auto repair inside of it. Next, please. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that works. So this was provided by the applicants. So you see here, building A would be the Sinclair main building. Approximately half the building itself off on the southeast part of the parcel itself. Half would still say for Sinclair, about the other half would be for the hobbyist parking. There's shared parking on site. Right now, Sinclair Plumbing has about 4 to 6 employees. Back before the pandemic, it was about 10 employees. In both situations, both having the Sinclair Plumbing uses and the hobbyist shop still meets requirements for parking uses on site. They're not looking to go ahead and make any new changes outside on the property, keep the way that it is. Essentially, there's a change of use. So next up. With this in mind, we are recommending approval on the CUP subject to the following conditions. So we are concerned as far as any sort of repair work that be happening outside. When talking to the applicants, that shouldn't be a problem. We'd like to go ahead and have about 2 vehicles at any given time inside of the base itself. Any vehicle on the property which will be, is, or has been repaired must be kept indoors until the time the vehicle stays on property, so no just selling cars outside or keeping them there. No outdoor storage of any kind is allowed for the activity related to major vehicle repairs. So yes, obviously if you want to go ahead and park there, you can do that, but we're not keeping cars outside. A maximum of 2 vehicles may be in repair at any given time. That was put forward because the applicant agreed to that. And then, so this is typical with a lot of these situations. There are 2 parcels right here, one being essentially just a building, the other being parking lot and an accessory building. These should be combined because they're both the exact property owner into one parcel itself to go ahead and make this whole, because right now it is not. And with this action, it can do that. So with that, we are recommending approval.
So I didn't know we could do that. We could clean up with a condition?
Yeah, we should be doing that more often when it comes to these type of things.
Okay.
There are enough of our parcels that are split
like
into
that.
many.
I think it was common practice back in the day that if 2 parcels were in the same ownership, the city was okay with allowing them to develop as one. However, half usually gets sold off, and then you have problems because now you don't have the same owner any longer. Things like fences going up driveways or people denying access or whatnot does happen.
Right, and it's fine right now the way it is, but you go ahead and anybody can sell this any moment.
Split it up.
Now we have a lot of issues. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Commissioners, any questions, comments, or staff?
I would make a motion to approve for the staff recommendation.
Second.
All right, we got a motion from Commissioner Ravinsky, second from Commissioner Craddock to approve. Any other questions? For that, we'll move to a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Let's move on to item number 5, consideration with possible action on a request for a subdivision variance at 1095 Langlade Avenue, submitted by T&T Professional Land Surveyors, Inc. on behalf of Donald and Wendy Hofet, sorry for the pronunciation, Living Trust of 2013 property owners.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, as you can all deduce, this is a request for a subdivision variance, which we don't see too often. So that is a variance to the land division regulations of the city. There's a section of the code that reads that the Plan Commission and the City Council have the authority to approve variations on specific requirements of the subdivision and platting code. And so that is kind of what you're coming here for right now. What you see on the screen is the property itself, 1095 Langlade, and then it is a double-fronted lot that runs all the way from Langlade through to Rockdale. The development currently has been designed to be on Langlade. On the Rockdale area is pretty empty. or is empty at this point. Future land use is low-density residential. Current zoning is low-density residential, R1. So this is looking at it from the Langlade side. So what I placed in here is sort of the line where a division would take place. And I guess I can say the existing lot right now is 50 feet wide by a little more than 200 feet deep. Again, double fronted. What they are proposing to do is split this lot to make two. The first would be on Langlade. That would be 50 by 114, so it'd be 5,700 square feet and change. Have an existing house and detached garage. I apologize, I think my report said attached, but it is detached. And then the lot that would be facing Rockdale would be 50 feet wide by 87 feet deep, and currently empty but ready for development in a low density fashion, whatever be allowed in the R1. When you look at variances themselves, there is 6 criteria that you need to follow. They're in your staff report. I won't read them all, but they are in the staff report. So you have to consider those when you have a variance request. So this is the actual technical certified survey map that was submitted showing the division. And I guess I'll just make some points. So our R1 zoning district does require 75-foot frontage for new lots. However, the request, this lot is a pre-existing lot at 50, was very common for a long, long time, and is getting more common again. But this request would not affect any of the width. It would remain at 50. So really what you're looking at is the depth and the area. So you can see what you're getting here. The Langlade lot, to stay compliant with zoning, is being 4 feet off of the garage's line, which is the required setback. And that would be about 5,737 square feet, 115 by 50, or 114 by 50. And then lot 2 would be the smaller of the two. It would be 87 by 50, so 4,373 square feet. I think I have that wrong. Oh no, I have it right in here. So a much smaller lot size. Code would require 7,500 square feet. It's currently about 10,000 for the whole lot itself. So obviously developed in a time where subdivision codes were very different. And I guess what staff would like to point out is, I'm going to go back to the aerial photo, any of the aerial photos, I guess. So the blue lines on this map are lot lines. And you can kind of see this neighborhood. This is the 1,000, 1,100 block of Rockdale on the south, same thing in Langlade on the north. You'll notice there is not a great consistency on lot sizes through here. So this was platted. Some of the lines may have moved around over time. But there is not a lot of consistency. But we would like to point out that on Rockdale, where you have the smaller lot, we would concede to the Langlade lot matches pretty much what you find up and down the block. The smaller lot on Rockdale, again, is 4,300 square feet with change. We have found a range on Rockdale as low as 3,900 square feet up to about 8,000 for the entire block. So the smaller lot size itself, even though it is smaller than code, is not inconsistent with the neighborhood character. It is definitely developable. We believe that, and are going to recommend approval because this really corrects a double-fronted lot, which is a big no-no in the subdivision code. Driveway leading right through from street to street. You can imagine the issues that come with that. It does not create any new nonconformities. The lot itself was too narrow before. It's not making that worse, and it does retain the ability to use the lot for a permitted use in a single-family district. And the top 3 items of your criteria, staff believe, are relevant. One is the physical features of the site, of the lot itself, creates the issue. Again, the double fronting and size. The proposal provides the least deviation from the code as necessary. They did pull that proposed property line right up as close as they could get it to make the Rockdale lot, appropriate. And then the third would be that this is not detrimental to the public interest or the general intent of the single-family code. So with that, we are recommending approval. I didn't put a slide. Recommending approval of the variance request.
Thank you, David. Questions, comments?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Commissioner Peretic, second by Commissioner Ravinsky. With that, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, informational. Let's go to Director Steck Schulte. I was practicing. And he's not even here.
I think he is offline.
That's all right.
Deputy Director?
The one thing
He was on there before.
The one thing I would like you guys to talk about, and we'll put on the agenda for the next meeting. I'm not the director, and I'm not exactly sure what he was going to share with you. So we've been internally talking about the way the public hearings work versus the action items. You remember we had that conversation when we first took on the public hearings here rather than at the council level. Because you kind of are not doing a presentation before the public hearing. And so people are commenting on things that aren't necessarily, they don't know enough about. I mean, if they read the staff report, they would, but, you know. So we had been talking internally about possibly doing the entire report before the hearing without the recommendation. So give you all the background, then open it up for the public hearing, and then probably not repeat everything for the action item. But at that point, you know, if you have questions, and open it up for more discussion or whatnot. We did go round and around when we first did this, and I think Sid actually recommended what we're suggesting now, but I can't recall. So, not that we're changing policy this very instant, but just give it some thought on how that would work best, and then maybe we can talk about it at the next meeting and then change the policy the way we do it. Because it does get kind of confusing when somebody, and I think it might have happened even this evening, where, although he thought, one of the developers thought he was not public.
Well, and we have heard those comments where people are like, I don't know what I'm commenting on.
Right.
I haven't heard the.
Or they ask questions and ask for answers back and forth, and you can't do that during the public hearing. So, still wouldn't be able to do that during the public hearing, but, you know, as Lisa has done, and I think Jake's done it before, we said we'll open it up later if you decide.
So processionally, is that, I mean, what are other communities doing in those situations?
Almost all communities will do the public hearing, and then do the action item after. Because what that's really meant to do is to get the public comments to you before you take action. I think they rely a lot more on the public being educated on what they're talking about.
And if I might say, I think the alternative is to have our script educate the public a little bit more. That is to say that the public hearing is an opportunity for us to know before we have the substantive discussion of the item what kinds of concerns the public is bringing with them. And that people will have an opportunity during the action of the item that follows to repeat or to expand upon their concerns.
Yeah, so, and I will obviously talk with the Attorney's Office to make sure we're following Robert's rules properly. And we'll talk about that in February.
Cool. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, best case, it nips a couple questions and potentially saves us some time. Worst case, we have to go back to it and get some clarification, so I don't see a downside.
And next meeting is February 27th. We skipped the first meeting in February. The council's agenda, your action would not go until the March 7th item anyway. So we'd be skipping February 13th, going February 27th.
I will not be here that evening.
And I will not be able to attend on the 27th either.
Was somebody else also missing?
Council meeting?
I don't think so, but we'll make sure we have a quorum. If we don't have a quorum, maybe we'll do a special meeting. Okay. It's a month is a long time for the planning commission not to act.
Makes sense.
Can I ask a quick question? The one developer for one of the motions tonight mentioned that he wasn't aware he was supposed to speak at the open forum. Is there anything that can be done to address that when developers are invited again? I mean, I've seen developers talk in other situations, but I guess there was just some sort of miscommunication, but I would have appreciated, I think people would have appreciated it as part of that discussion in the earlier item. So I don't know, there seemed to be some sort of miscommunication with that developer, so to avoid that in the future so that he knows that he's able to speak.
Usually they're more than willing to speak.
Yeah.
And we could update that script again a little bit more to make that super clear. This is a public hearing. Anybody interested, including developers or anybody.
Let's emphasize that.
You could emphasize it. I mean, I think this developer knew he could speak. I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Maybe he didn't see it going that way and didn't feel it necessary, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but I was trying to figure what was going on with from Landmarks Commission in the last council meeting. Can someone give me the rundown of actually what happened there? Did it just get held again?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
It went into closed session and came out with just really a directive for staff to proceed as directed in closed council, or closed session, so.
I couldn't figure it out, I wasn't sure, but thank you.
Comes back to council again.
Right.
Have fun.
And I will update you either by email or at the next meeting if I was correct with the table or not. I believe I am, but I would definitely check with law.
Oh,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
motion by Commissioner Rubitsky, second by Commissioner Pratt to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, good night, folks.
Bye, Sid.
Take care, everybody, stay warm.
You too.
Thanks.